Hi everyone, I am Rajat and I'm the Chief Evangelist at Nature and Thought. Nature and Thought develops and researches supplements for your health that are based on accountable science. And we are using this channel to foster your curiosity for everything related to health. Today I'm really excited to have Ashdin Doctor. Ashton, also known as a habit coach, believes that awesome lives with start with awesome habits. I think he should be called the Awesome Habit Coach. He's a founder of Awesome 180, a habit coaching program, and he also hosts a popular podcast, The Habit Coach with Ashdin Doctor, which has over 900 episodes and is also a top self development podcast in India. And if I may say, it also hosts some very amazing people every now and then. Ashton is also a published author now, and today we are going to be talking a lot about his new book. All right, so with that, let me bring Ashton in. Hey,
Hey Rajat, I'm
hey,
so
oh,
excited to be doing this with you.
yeah,
And we have fantastic guests on the episode, including you. So thank you so much for coming on the
you
Habit
saw
Coach
how I did
podcast.
that little plug in.
I loved it. I loved it.
Awesome. So Ashton, I've read your book, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life, and I found it fascinating. I've actually just done my little Amazon review of the book today morning, and for me, there were a couple of things that really stood out. One is that it was so simply written in the sense that it was easy to follow. There were exercises, and I very diligently, even when I was traveling, I was making my notes and doing all the exercises. And I just felt like it really came from your heart. So the book reveals a lot about why you started habit coaching. But tell us a little bit about what started the book for you. Was that always a thought from the beginning?
So the book started about, I think, 5 years ago, or maybe lesser, maybe
Wow.
about 3 years ago. I was in Japan and I was in one of those Shinkansens going somewhere. And I was like, why don't I write a book? So
Hmm.
immediately I took out this brand new Japanese, leather bound book that I had just bought, and I started scribbling out what my ideas for this book would be inside there. And I started, structuring it out, drawing mind maps, came back to India, and then forgot all about it.
Hmm.
Then, luckily, the pandemic happened. And in the pandemic, we were all stuck at home, and I realized that I'm writing about 750 words each almost every day for the podcast, 3 days out of the week. Why don't I just continue writing 750 words every day,
Hmm.
and after a while there'll be a book? So I said that, all right, let's start the habit of writing.
Hmm.
And the kind of person that I am, I research something completely before I start. So I promptly went and read up on how the best-selling authors in the world write. What are their writing habits? How do they start thinking about the book before they write? So I saw all those interviews and I made up my own system of writing a book. And
Hmm.
that's basically how it started. So I said, all right, every day I'm going to write 750 words at this point of time in the morning. And every day I would sit down on my jula overlooking the river on my farm because that's where we were locked down. And I would write out the 750 words every day.
Amazing. And Ashton, it's funny because I feel like I have heard a lot of people recently use the pandemic as that silver lining, right? And I think for a lot of people, the pandemic in so many ways has have given that perspective, that clarity, and pushed people to pursue new things. So it's a great story, and I know I've read about this in the book, and I love how you've again broken it down into the 750 words, right? So for
It
a
has to be simple, and you have to create something to remind you for doing this. So, for example, I had a post-it note on my desk every single morning that I would look at that said to sell 1 million copies because I have a message 1 million people need to read.
yeah.
Right. So it was. I had that post-it note before I started writing the book, and it was, I think, probably a year before I started writing the book that that
Hmm.
post-it note was on my table.
Yeah. So that brings me to the second part of what I wanted to talk to you. And I know we had this conversation the last time we spoke about motivation versus intention, and reading it in the book really sealed the deal for me. And I understand more about why motivation sucks. And I've not done the imposition yet, so I've cheated a little bit. I thought if I'm cut and pasting it and on my phone, it's not going to count. I have to read it. But I think if you can tell us a little bit more, because I feel like your intention was about making those million people read the book. So, can you tell us a little bit more about intention?
Absolutely. See, the way that we normally try and make a change in our life is that we see something that someone else has done. Then we get very excited about it and say, oh, if they can do it, I can do it as well. Right? So
Mm,
we get inspired by people, we get motivated by people, and we want to do this. However, the
mm,
problem with motivation is that it doesn't last very long. Right? Most people start a diet and end it within a day, maybe 2 days if they're lucky. Right? What is happening at that point of time? The motivation is burning very bright but not long. The way
mm,
that I equated in the book is that motivation is like a matchstick. You can light a matchstick and it burns bright, but you cannot cook your Maggie noodles, you cannot cook your omelette on that matchstick, right? You need something that is a slow burner, that's going to give you consistency so that you can finish cooking.
yeah.
And that's where this whole idea of intention comes in. Intention means, what is that very strong why that I have for
Mm,
doing this change? Very often we don't have that strong why for a change. We want to
yeah.
change because we saw it on somebody else's profile and it looked cool, right?
Mm,
We saw somebody else doing it and it looked cool, and we want to try that out as well, right? They saw this podcast and said, oh, Rajat's doing such a fantastic job on this, I also want to start. Right? But why do you want to start?
yeah.
And that is something that we never drill down into. So the whole idea of intention is coming down to this core, very personal connect on why this particular change that you want to make, this particular habit that you want to make, is important to you in the long run.
So can we do an exercise maybe? I would love to pick between you and me, or maybe based on your practice, some of the health related habits that people are trying to set. Because as I was reading the book, I actually have tried to write down the whys and I've struggled a bit. So while I believe that health should be celebrated every day, still want to use this occasion to see if we can help, templatize maybe at least the top 4 or 5 um, health habits for people. One could be movement, whatever you think. So we can, I would love to be your student here, and we can walk through that exercise.
Amazing. All right. So let's take the main things that people struggle with, right? So, for example, let's look at nutrition planning.
Hmm.
So, why do people not focus on the food that they eat? You know, I keep telling people that my grandma used to say that you are what you eat. That
Hmm.
means that whatever you've put in your mouth at some point of time has become some part of you.
Hmm.
So you have to ask yourself, which part of you is a Lay's potato chip, which
Hmm.
part of you is a kurkure, which part of you is a vada pav, right? It is this choice that you have to make. So the way that I focused on my whys for nutrition, so the whole goal of creating your intention, let's get back to the basics. The whole
Hmm.
goal of creating your intention is by starting and asking yourself three whys,
Hmm.
WHY, three whys. The first why is why you want to do this, and you will get a particular answer after that why. Whatever that answer has come, you ask that why again for that answer. So you make that
Hmm.
answer the next question. You'll get
Hmm.
another answer. You ask
Hmm.
why again for that answer, and you get another one. And that basically is how you drill down into a very core intention, something
Hmm.
that is so personal to you that you're like, wow, if this happens, my life will never be the same again.
Hmm.
Right? So for me, when I started the nutrition part of my journey, where like in the book I've talked about how it started because of my six pack and wanting to become like like full King Kong and have abs and all of that. I realized that that is not something that I would want for the rest of my life. I realized that a stronger intention was that I want to give my body the best possible building blocks. So I want to focus on my nutrition. Why do you want to focus on your nutrition? Because I realized that if I don't focus on my nutrition, my body will not be maintained in the way that I want to. Why do you want to maintain your body? Because when I'm old, I don't want to feel sick and troubled.
Hmm.
So now every time I have something that I know is not serving me, is not good for me, in my mind, my intention is not that six pack anymore, which is a small short term goal, but it is
Yeah.
the fact that years from now, I never want to feel like, oh my God, my body is against me. My
Hmm.
body is breaking up. My body is deteriorating. And Rajat, you know this, we know so many people whose bodies are going through that. They are giving up, they are deteriorating because the raw materials that have been put into them are not good quality. Like the example that I give when I do workshops on nutrition is, I said that, it's like building a building, right? So if you want to build a strong building, what are the things that you need? You need
Mm.
iron bars, you need cement, you need sand, you need water, right? So the foreman will call the supply department and say, boss, we need iron bars, we need concrete, we need cement, sorry, we need sand, we need all of these things. And then the department will say, sure, 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 and will send then thermocol balls and fevicol. And now he's saying, "No, now use this for the building." Correct. And the foreman will be like, okay, but like I have to build this, so I will use the thermocol balls and the fevicol. And that's what you end up building, because you're not building good quality tissue at the
Mm.
end of the day, because the materials that you put in were not good quality.
Yeah.
So when this aha happened, I realized that my intention is not a short-term intention, but something that's long-term, in the form of, I never want to feel sick. I never
Yeah.
want to feel that my body is giving up on me.
Yeah. I don't know, in my head, the whole three little pig story is going on with your building structure example. Because, I mean, that's what, I feel like when you talk about those three pigs, right? The only one that could withstand the big bad wolf, and the intention was, right, was not about building a house. It was about building a house that would keep them safe forever. And that's where the third pig was able to defeat the big bad wolf,
So
right?
well said. It is not
Yeah,
just the shelter. It's not just having a body. It's not eating
yeah,
for the sake of eating. It is
yeah,
eating for the sake of creating this beautiful cathedral instead of
mm,
just,
yeah, yeah.
a straw house.
So can you help me with? So I've been wanting, and I have done this, okay, but there are things that for whatever reason I'm just not able to maintain this, which is I want to get up and do my 25-minute. It's not even a big one, right? It's just 25 minutes of my meditation practice. Because I love doing it, and I know the benefits, at least what I get immediately also almost from doing it. And I, of course, having studied a little bit of this, I know what the long term. But there is a reason, I don't know what it is. My body craves for it, but I'm just not able to build this into my daily, schedule. So, what would be if you were to, I'm getting free coaching here, I know, but using this as an
The
example.
the way that I would ask you first is, do you know why you want to meditate?
So, I would think that my first why, and I did a little bit of this, was that it helps me feel calm, and it helps me respond versus react to situations.
Lovely. Why is feeling calm and responding instead of reacting important to you?
Because it helps for me, a lot of this is around my child, and it really helps me be a good parent.
Lovely. Why is it important for you to be a good parent?
Because I think it's such a big responsibility of shaping the life of another human being. And honestly, I mean, you're going to make mistakes, but the more, like I said, when you make a mistake, you respond, and how you cater to them, you're shaping the life of another adult, and that's your legacy. So that becomes extremely important to make sure it's done right.
So is meditating helping you be calm, or meditating has help you shape the life of your child?
I would think shape the life of my child.
Right. So in your head, you have to make that connection. Think that the meditation is not about just being calm. For
Mm,
me, it is, I'm meditating so that my child gets the best of me. My
mm,
child gets the best life possible. Right.
yeah,
And as parents, that's what we want.
yeah.
Right. So you have to learn to make the connection. And every time you wake up in the morning and say, Aaj nahi, right?
Mm,
And you go kiss your child, you're like, oh, but like if I don't do that, then I'm ruining this part. All right.
yeah.
Let me see what I can do now.
Mm,
Correct. So intention setting has to be that pure and that personal to you. Correct.
mm,
I would even go maybe deeper and say, why is it important for me to have a legacy? Why is it
yeah,
important for me to shape this life? But I'm
yeah.
saying that you can keep going as deep till it comes to this one particular pain point, saying that, okay, there's no chance I'm going to miss this.
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
And I think I'm already like in my head that's happening. Some of it might be very private, and I know I don't want to maybe share that on this channel. But it is, it's fascinating to go through this exercise and think about why do I want to do something? Because you're right, like I'm learning the piano, I'm trying to do 10 other things, but if I do this, I'm always looking at it short term and not necessarily thinking about what is it that, years down the road, I'm going to look back at this habit and know what I got out of it.
Correct. And as parents, all you want to do is give the child what we didn't have. So it's always that aspect of like, how do I make this person's life as beautiful as possible, as awesome, far more than what
Yeah,
we as parents had.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
well, Rajat, the key thing is that you've chosen 25 minutes. Why have you
Yeah.
chosen 25 minutes? Why is it not
So,
5 minutes? Why is it not 10 minutes?
true. So I can, because I have a sequence that
Hmm,
does take 25 minutes,
hmm.
and it involves a little bit of like a yoga nidra too. So I keep going in and out. And sometimes it goes up to 30, but 25 minutes, if I do it right, it takes 25 minutes for that whole sequence to be done.
So there might be times when you do your 25 minutes, and there might be times when you do a shorter version. So what I would encourage you to do is find a habit where you can do a 5-minute version of this or a
Yeah.
10-minute version of this. So you don't necessarily do the whole 25, for example, on days that you don't feel like, or on days that you don't have the time to, or there is the morning rush that happens, right?
Yeah.
During those times, you do 5 minutes. All right. Give mommy 5 minutes. I'm just going to quickly meditate and come back. Then
Yeah.
perfect. Everything
Yeah.
is cool. So
Yeah.
think about what you can do for 5 minutes. Maybe it's a different form of meditation. Maybe it's a mindfulness. Maybe it's just one yoga nidra that you do instead of going in and
Yeah.
out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah. Now that makes sense. In fact, after reading your book, which I still haven't put in action, but my number one thing was to keep a yoga mat right next to my bed. I'm like, because I get up super early, but I don't roll out of bed, right? There's a lot of lag between this and that. And I'm like, if there's a yoga mat, I could pretty much still be lying down doing my exercise. So I want to make it, like you said, make it as easy as possible to at least start and at least get onto that mat every day. And hopefully, cross my fingers and hope that I can then follow it through every single day.
Oh, it's going to happen. But the important thing is that how do you wake up, by the way? Do you wake up with an alarm? Do you wake up without an alarm?
Most of the time without an alarm.
Okay. So another way
Because
to
I
do
need to
this.
sleep on time for that, though.
No, no, no. So another way that you can do it is you set an alarm and you put the
Yeah.
alarm or the phone far away from your bed. So now you have to get out of bed. You can't loll around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to
Put it.
disturb everybody else. Yeah, put it next to the yoga mat.
No, that makes sense, Ashton. And I think I don't want to give away because I feel like everybody should absolutely read this book. So I don't want to give away a whole lot of the secrets that are embedded into the book. But the other thing also about not missing 2 days in a row, I thought was amazing. And these are things that, let me see, maybe I'll report back to you in 15, 20 days and see how I'm doing now.
Oh, that'll be brilliant. Must do.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll report to all of you guys about how I'm doing. Sometimes it's that accountability that matters. And I know I'm one of those people. If I've made an announcement and I've said I'm going to do this, it'll help me stick to it a lot better.
Correct.
Fantastic. So I have a fun exercise for you.
Do you want to
I'm
discuss some more of the health things before we
Yeah,
get into the
yeah, we
exercise?
can. We can.
Because we
Absolutely.
just spoken about nutrition, but
Yeah,
we know that maybe exercise or maybe movement is something that is important.
correct.
And I have another story on this. I think it's
Hmm.
mentioned in the book, but on how I created the intention for movement in my life. And maybe
Hmm.
you have something that's similar. So before I started exercising, before I started working out, I was extremely unfit. I couldn't climb up a flight of stairs. Right. And I was so scared of what my body was doing because I would have back pains, I would have knee
Hmm.
aches, I would have your neck pains. Everyone says cervical, 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 all those things, right? And for me, like I said earlier on, the intention was about an aesthetic goal, but I realized that an aesthetic goal is meh compared to what a health goal is, right?
Hmm.
And the way that I thought about this was, what are my whys? And I said, why do I want to exercise? I want to exercise because I want to be fit. Why do I want to be fit? Right?
Hmm.
Then the word fit comes in. I was like, fit for what? So then you
Hmm.
write, I want to be fit for life. That means anything that life throws at me, I should be able to accomplish. Right?
Mm.
If it is climbing up a staircase or it's climbing up a ladder, if it's hanging from some place, I should be able to do it. Right?
Mm.
If I'm suddenly stuck in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where the building is blowing up and a helicopter comes and I have to jump onto that skid and fly off, I should be able to do these things,
Yeah.
right? We should all be able
Doomsday.
to.
Correct.
Exactly. We should all be able to save ourselves. So that's where the idea came from. And my core intention came down after asking the multiple whys is
Mm.
I never want to be scared of my body again.
Mm.
Right? I never want to be scared of my body. And that is such a powerful um, idea or a thought,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
so many of us are scared of our bodies. Arey, mujhse nahi ho paega. I won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Handstand, how will I be able to? My hands won't be able to hold it. Right?
Yeah.
And as we grow older, we know that our muscle mass decreases. As we grow older, we know that our bones become weaker. As we
Mm.
grow older, we know that our flexibility goes away. So, for most of us listening to this podcast, this will be the fittest of our life because it's all going to be downhill unless
Mm.
we make a change now and start making that change through and through.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think for many people, having aha moments saying, that, oh God, it's going to be worse in the future, not better, unless I make a change now, is a very powerful thought that can be used
Yeah.
as a way to, at least drive you into thinking about your health.
Yeah. And Ashton, for me, like I've always maintained this, one of the most powerful, you know, visualizations for me for the future are like I've lost my father to, a neurological condition. My mom's suffering from one now, and like she just fell down. Just in fact, on Fridays, has spinal wedge fracture. And when I look at, I've had seen their journey. They didn't exercise a day in their lives. They've never been, I would say, obese, but that has nothing to do with their fitness levels, right? So for me, that is such an important, for me, that's my picture in the future, to be like, that's what I don't want to be, right?
Correct.
I don't want to be at this age, 67, 68, be wondering what I can and not, cannot do in life. So, yeah, I agree. Absolutely. That is such a powerful thought to kind of keep you going. And I'm being so careful not to use the word motivation.
Motivation is a bad word. But Rajat, that's the key, right? So many of us think exercise is only about the body. We don't realize the benefits with the mind, right?
Yeah,
We know about the BDNF that takes place when
correct.
you brain derived neurotropic factor, which is basically how your brain starts growing when we start doing high intensity exercises, when we start doing muscle building and coordination exercises. Again, different neural pathways are being built. Many a times when we spend our life not moving, what is happening is that the body is saying, why do I need to know this
Yeah,
format? Right?
correct.
Let the neural pathways rot. As it is, this person's only sitting and watching TV all day long.
Yeah,
Correct. Also, then we realize that we're not giving properly the kind of brain food that we need to be giving. Are we having
yeah,
fats? Are we having things that
yeah,
are going to help you neurologically? All these things make such a big difference. And all of these are small, small habits that you add into your day. And at the end, it has a big payoff because of the
yeah.
consistency.
So what's your next habit that you're trying to build today, and maybe struggling with or are doing really good at?
So the habit that I'm struggling with right now is learning the saxophone. So I want to start
Mm.
playing the saxophone regularly because right now I look very good with the saxophone but sound terrible. So the thing is, and the problem is I've realized just what we've said is I don't have a strong enough why to do it. Right?
Mm.
Like, why do I need to do this? No, going out and meeting my friends is probably more important right now.
Mm.
Right? No, going out and doing this workshop is more important. And as a
Mm.
result, I've realized that it is a habit that I want to create, but the intention is not strong enough for me to follow through on it.
Mm.
Right? And I tell people that if you have a habit that you want to create because you enjoy it or because you like it, but your intention is not that, don't do it.
Mm.
Because there are enough other habits that have stronger intentions
Yeah,
for the time being.
yeah.
Maybe the intention will change later on in your life and then it'll come back to you.
Can I bring a nature and thought angle to what you're trying to do?
Of
Maybe
course.
to help you with an intention. So, my research, and this is my primary reason for learning the piano, is because A, it's so difficult. And because it is so difficult, it's like that first time you learn to drive a car, right? The amount of electrical signals, and I know you know this, right? But the amount of electrical signals that are going on in your brain as you're trying to coordinate, make it sound nice, hit the right chords, blow correctly, do all of that. It's what's causing your brain to almost rejuvenate. So, like you're doing your movement, your nutrition, playing the saxophone, besides it looking, amazing, you'll be able to jam. Maybe we can do a jam session someday with our Gizapata, whatever little we know.
You play
But
chopsticks or something.
yeah, but that in itself would be, for me, that's my, honestly, my biggest intention for keeping with my piano practice, because I find it so difficult, and that left and right coordination itself, I know, is amazing food for my brain, and will hopefully prevent deterioration like what has happened with my parents. And that's what keeps me going.
Amazing. Are you having any supplements for your helping you build those neural pathways?
Not yet,
Hmm.
but I do intend to start those as well.
Excellent.
Yeah. What are your suggestions?
I think the ones that I think make a big difference, apart from like the mushrooms and stuff like that, so like
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
focus and you get your lion's manes and all of those. I think the obviously there's Brahmi because it's for mental acuity. CoQ10 I think helps from a brain fog kind of issue, which is
Correct.
what a lot of people are going through now, especially post what we've been through.
Yeah.
Acetyl L-carnitine again helps bring
Mm,
fats into your brain. So I think
mm.
these typical ones would probably be interesting things for brain
Yeah.
growth as well. Apart from
Yeah.
obviously fish oil and your ghee and all those things.
Yeah. And one of my favorite ones, of course, which is shameless nature and thought plug, is the ashwagandha too.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. But no, these are great. These are great product development ideas for nature and thought as well. So thanks, Ashton. All right. You wanna talk about one more? So we've talked about movement. We've talked about my meditation. We've talked about your nutrition. Any other, maybe a fun habit? So if somebody's doing a habit just for pure fun, um, how do we set an intention for that? And have you come across those in your practice?
So the fun habits don't necessarily need me, right?
Hmm.
Because the fun habits are habits that give you instant gratification.
Hmm.
Instant gratification is the easiest way to form a habit.
Yeah.
However, the habits that we are talking about are all delayed gratification habits. That means you won't
Hmm.
feel that immediate benefit. However,
Hmm.
there's actually one habit that we can talk about, which is in the health space that will give you a fairly immediate benefit, which is your sleep habit,
Hmm.
right? Because the way that I look at it is that the quality of your day
Yeah.
starts not with that particular day, but the night before.
Yeah.
So I always say that your perfect morning routine starts the night before. And if
Hmm.
you can focus on that night before, then you don't have to necessarily worry about, I woke up like this, I did this in the next day. So I think
Hmm.
getting your sleep routine in is probably one of the best ways to, or the best return on investment rather, for
Yeah.
your habits around health. The way that I
Yeah.
would say it, no matter what time you're sleeping right now, unless you're like a 7 o'clock sleeper, which is very rare, try sleeping a half an hour early. That's
Hmm.
it, right?
Hmm.
What we're doing is, especially in our modern life, is everything is being delayed so much.
Hmm.
Correct. And we know that our body wants to start sleeping from 8 to 8:39 onwards, because that's when all the body functions actually start in the cleaning processes in the brain, etc., in
Hmm.
the body. However, we push it till 12 o'clock, we push it till 1 o'clock. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying start sleeping by 8:30. I also don't do that. But at least bring it down to like 10, bring it down to 10:30, and then
Hmm.
you will see such a dramatic change in the way that your body functions, the energy that you have the next day, far more than what you're currently having. So I think getting your sleep habits in place, and it's habits, because there are lots of habits that you would form
Yeah.
for your sleep,
Yeah. And I think that's
including having ashwagandha from Nature and Thought in the morning.
no, absolutely.
I can
Thanks.
shamelessly plug you as much as uh, as I want. Then
No,
it's not
it's fine.
shameless, I think.
I know on my own platform, I feel like I don't like shamelessly plugging our own brand, but yeah, thank you for that. And I think it's important. What you're saying. I mean, I put my kid to sleep at 8:30. Honestly, by 9 o'clock, I'm ready. So if somebody does ask me, I say 10, but there are times I am asleep by 9:30, right? And nowadays, I just cannot compromise on that beauty sleep, right? It just has to happen. But one of the things that I feel that suffers then is my social life a little bit, because every now and then, you have parties, people want to stay up till at least 1, 2, sometimes 4. And while I then push them to say, let's meet, I always tell my friends, let's meet earlier in the evening. But I know I'm always the first person to leave a party. So, are there group goals that we could all create that can, maybe help our social life also, while not compromising on our sleep?
It's so funny. All my friends now, when we say we'll meet for dinner at 7 o'clock, right? The other day, I made a plan with somebody saying, okay, we'll meet for dinner, done, done, done. And on that day, I was like, oh, okay, so what time shall I see you there? 7? No, 9:30, 10. 9:30, 10. 9:30, 10 is sleep time. No way am I coming. So Rajat, there are two aspects here. One is that you have to cultivate a personality where people think that you are mad. Okay. Once you do that, then you're forgiven for everything. So
Yeah,
I think that is a brilliant habit. Arey, Rajat is like that only. She sleeps at 10 o'clock.
yeah,
Right.
no,
So you've gotten away with leaving the party early, and you
yeah,
have this now interesting reputation of being mad. So I think being a little crazy is a good thing.
it's a good thing.
However, yeah. However, the second thing that I do is if it's a late night, I don't eat out. So I will eat at home at 7 and then head out, and then won't eat anything else after that, because then I know that what I'm doing is I'm giving my body that break. Even if I come home late-ish, by say 12 or 1, I'm giving that body that at least the food part of it was on point instead
Yeah,
of everything else. Because
yeah,
what normally happens along with the late night is late food.
yeah. And I'm such a good student. So after having read your book now, I'm going to say that you should not do 2 late nights in a row, because that's going to mess
Correct.
up all your entire habit train 2 days in a row.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Golden rule number 3, never miss 2 days in a row.
yeah, absolutely. Awesome. All right, Ashton, are you ready for some fun?
Yes, bring it on.
All right, so I'm going to just tell you a word or a phrase, and you have to
Hmm.
say it really quickly. It's like the coffee with current rapid fire, but there's nothing controversial about it, unless you want to make it, right? So, your first word is habit.
Essential, every single element of your life. Oh, it's only one word I have to reply.
No, no, you say whatever
Okay,
you
better.
want.
Huh.
Absolutely fine.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Building blocks of your life. Huh, better.
Building blocks of your life. Motivation.
Chi.
The cheat really came from inside. All right. Intention.
Why?
Yeah. Perfect. Coaching.
Hand holding through it.
Hmm. Perfect. What about a ritual?
The hardest to change, but
Hmm.
the holy grail for habits.
Brilliant. Bad habit. Bad habit.
Doesn't exist.
Perfect. And you have to read Ashton's book to know why he says that. All right. And what about change?
Did you like my description of what a bad habit looks like?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I was honestly conflicted with it a little bit, because I'm like, there are some bad habits. Like, how can you say there are no bad habits? But I get what you're trying to say, and it makes sense. And I like that we call them bad habits, just because that's how people relate to it and understand it. But nonetheless, I know exactly what you're trying to say. So again, I want people to go and like get the book and read it like today,
Love it.
right? All right. Change.
An essential part of life. Don't fight it.
Hmm. Brilliant. Awesome. Full points. I don't have a gift hamper, but I'll see if I can get you a gift hamper soon. You
I
have
love
won
it.
the solo rapid fire round here.
Won the solo rapid fire round. Always remember to take part in competitions where you're the only person running.
Yeah, I take part mostly in those, right? All right, Ashton. So now tell me, and this is a little bit of a googly. So if you need a second, I know you won't need it, but if you need
Hmm.
it, take it. But tell me that you are a habit coach without telling me you're a habit coach.
You sure you're going to eat that again today?
Perfect. Awesome. You know which finger, which toe is going to become that potato chip, or that thing, right? Is what you've got to think. Yeah, I love that your grandma's advice is now advice to all of us, which is always
And we
amazing.
never took it seriously, right? Like when your grandmother said these things, you're like, "Arey yaar, mat
Ah,
pakao."
yeah, mat pakao. Such a quintessential Indian thing to say, right? All right, amazing. Ashton, for all of you, I guess, who have not read Ashton's book, please make sure that you go and get it because, like I said, it's one of the. Thank you, Ashton. I actually saved it up on my phone to bring it up because this is how I read it. And I was like,
You
I
read it on
can't,
your phone.
because there was a problem on my Kindle. It just wouldn't download. I tried it twice. So then I actually did read it on my phone
Okay,
because
send me
I
your
was
address. I'm sending you a
determined.
copy.
No, I'll buy my copy. Million copies ka goal, you're all going to contribute towards it. And it needs to happen. It's a easy, beasy read, guys, and it is got the most efficient advice, I would say, on how to develop healthy habits, change your habits, and change your life. So, with that, thank you so much, Ashton. What is your last few advice? Anything that you would want to say about your book to Nature and Thought audience today?
Lovely. About the book, obviously, please buy it, read it, enjoy it. But the thing that I would want to leave you with is that you know that perfect life that you've always dreamed about, that perfect
Hmm.
life that you're saying that in the future it will happen, in the future it will happen, and we keep waiting for that future to come, but it never comes. It never comes because we never take the right actions that we choose today. And
Hmm.
whatever the life that you want in the future starts by the many actions that you take from now onwards. And if you realize this one thought, your life can change completely in a different direction, in whichever direction that you want it to. And the best way of doing that is to start thinking, what are the habits that I need to start changing every single day? And you know just change one at a time, and you will see such a dramatic shift, because it is just that little 1% that a rudder needs to change for a ship for it to go completely in a different course. And that's what we need to do to our lives as well, to get to that beach where we're sitting on the beach sipping our margaritas and hopefully reading Change Your Habits, Change Your Life.
Perfect. So everybody go set that intention and make sure that you are able to then manifest your perfect future. Thank you so much again, Ashton. It's always lovely talking to you.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you everyone for listening.